Nature of Man, Part 1, Chapter 2, Self-Knowledge. We are looking at the topic self-knowledge and its relation to the human being's true nature in this chapter, and will commence by asking a few questions. Is it possible to know one's true nature without self-knowledge? Is it possible to live truly and happily without self-knowledge? Is it possible to have self-knowledge without observation? Finally, is it possible to know your fellow men without self-knowledge? What is this self-knowledge that is being spoken of? There are many statements attributed by the master philosophers of the past with respect to the subject of self-knowledge. Over the entrance to the Delphic oracle, these words have been attributed to Diotima: know thyself. This statement has been attributed to Confucius. Whoever knows essentially his own nature can know also that of the other men and can penetrate into the nature of beings. He can collaborate in the transformation and the progress of heaven and earth. Seneca of Roman fame said, "How can the soul which misunderstands itself have a sure idea of the other creatures? How can the soul which misunderstands itself have a sure idea of the other creatures?" This is a famous statement from William Shakespeare in his play Hamlet on the subject of self-knowledge. "This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow, as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man." So what about self-knowledge? Do we have total knowledge of ourselves? What do we know of ourselves? This last question is not an absurd one, because self-knowledge is the most important of all knowledge. If the individual has a lack of self-knowledge, this lack is reflected in all he or she says and does. There will be this underlying uncertainty which will affect his or her dispositions in life. Throughout one's life, one is asked to play many parts, often at great speed. There is the role of the father, son, brother, mother, daughter, sister, employer, employee, and many other such roles. If the individual is rooted in self-knowledge, then one can play these roles nicely, not getting carried away with any one of them. One will then fulfill one's part in the world with harmony, confidence, clarity, courage, efficiency, and effectiveness. Two questions therefore arise. Would you say that many persons get carried away with the roles that they play in life? And what is the effect of this on people that they come into contact with? These are two relevant questions, I'm sure, to most of us. The subject of self-knowledge is to be approached in a particular way, and the following Zen story gives us a good illustration of how it should be approached. Nanin, a Japanese master during the Meiji era, 1868 to 1912, received a university professor who came to inquire about Zen. Nanin served tea. He poured his visitor's cup fuller and kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. "It is overfull. No more will go in." "Like the cup," Nanin said, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? It's taken from Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, a very famous book on Zen Buddhism. Self-knowledge should be approached with an open mind. It is not about theory or ideas about oneself, but to actually have knowledge of our being. This can best be accomplished when our minds are fully at rest, with no thoughts or desires in mind, and where a sense of our true essence can be gained. This can happen whether we are active or inactive. Gaining a sense of our true essence will lead to greater confidence, clarity, and harmony in our lives. When this true essence is established, we attain our true stature as human beings. Here is a story which illustrates this. There was a lion cub who by chance was misled into a flock of sheep and was taken by the shepherds. He grew up with the sheep and acquired their manners, although his form was different. He would eat grass and make sounds like a sheep. One day, when the sheep were grazing, a lion happened to come that way, and on seeing the sheep, he roared. The sheep ran away, but the cub stood, and having seen the familiar form, he walked up to the lion with affection. The lion took him under his influence, and once again the sheep lion became a rare lion. What have we gathered from the story? The story illustrates that there may be parallels between ourselves and the lion cub. The lion cub had rediscovered his true nature when it was represented to him. All the while he was operating from a false nature until a real lion came along. What do we think? Do we recognize the sheep lion? Do we recognize the true lion? Man's true nature is always before us. By true nature, we mean that nature that is constant and never changing. We may have a sense of our superficial nature, which does not stay constant, which changes like the weather, such as our mood swings, our periods of low and high energy, our times of clarity as against our times of confusion, our times of heaviness, darkness, and sluggishness. We all have experiences of these differences. In the last chapter, an ancient simple exercise was introduced that allows us to go beyond our superficial natures and arrive into that domain of constancy of nature where we are truly ourselves and over which our superficial natures cover. This exercise we call the awareness exercise, which is simple and harmless, and we shall be engaging in it continuously during the course of this book. Such is its importance. So here again, let us practice this exercise. This exercise requires that we sit upright and comfortable in a chair, and you dwell for a few moments on each instruction. Let the mind become free of any concern or preoccupation. Let the mind fall still. Let the body fall still. Become aware of where you are now. Become aware of everything in the room in a general sense. Become aware of the feet on the floor. Become aware of the body seated on the chair. If the mind wavers, bring it back to stillness, without any concern or preoccupation. Become aware of the clothes on the skin. Become aware of the play of air on the face and hands. If your eyes are open, let it receive what it sees without any comment. Become aware of the sense of taste in the mouth. Become aware of the sense of smell. If the mind has wavered, bring it back to here and now. Become aware of hearing, of the immediate sounds, and then the furthest sounds. Receive them without judgment or comment of any kind. Finally, simply rest in this great awareness for a few moments. End. The practice of this awareness exercise once daily will have a profound effect on the discovery of one's true nature. With this discovery will come the ability to live one's life with confidence, clarity, harmony, efficiency, and effectiveness. One's ability to be more conscious of oneself and one's surroundings will markedly increase. So one is urged to incorporate this awareness exercise in one's daily routine. In this book, there is a simple guideline that you are asked to follow. It is neither to accept or reject what is offered here, but to put into practice and determine its veracity. If it is found to be useful, then all is well and good, but proceed with an open mind. This approach will allow you to confirm by way of observation, rather than mere theory or ideas, all that is offered in the book. One example of this is the decision posed in Chapter 1 before making important decisions. What would a wise man or woman do here? Employing this is of practical importance. The efficacy of this statement is only determined when it is employed. Put the question to use and observe what actually happens. So engage with this chapter for 1 week. Reread and carry out the practices prescribed herein. And send your comments and questions to nigelgittins@gmail.com, and they will be responded to promptly. So have a good week.